Hey, this is Frank Todaro,
otherwise known as Starscream.
And you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hey, it's Jesse Rass, and do you love comic books? Do you have opinions about comic books? Do you like hearing opinions on said comic books? Then you need to make the great escape. And it's a small leap into another world we call the Pull Bag. And you'll only find it here on the GCRN, otherwise known as the Geekcast Radio Network.
You've just jumped inside the Pull Bag. Join TFG1Mike and the rest of the comic crew here at the GCRN as they make their great escape into comics. From DC, Marvel, and Image to IDW, Boom Studios, and Zenescope, we have everything right here. We cover things like Transformers, He-Man, superheroes, TMNT, and Radiant Black. Yeah, we have all that and so much more. It's all inside the Pull Bag here on the Geekcast Radio Network. So, without further ado, it's time to talk about the comics we're reading right now, here inside the Pull Bag.
Hello everyone, TFG1Mike here, and I just want to say that Steve, Megatron, and I recorded this review a long time ago. So, things have happened since we recorded this review. My wife has passed away. I wasn't really looking to edit this, so this is pretty much put together the way it was recorded. To Thomas and all the creators of Contraband, I'm sorry. We apologize multiple times in this episode. But, yeah, enjoy this episode that was supposed to be out like 3 months ago.
Hello and welcome to The Pull Bag. This is episode 433. That's right, folks, 433 episodes. I'm, of course, TFG1Mike. Joining me, as always, Steve Megatron. Hello, sir.
Yo.
Yo. It is the second to last week of October, second to last Wednesday in October. Halloween is coming up. And we have something kind of scary to review tonight, sort of. How should we talk about this? Like, the whole process of getting the, like, okay, so we get submissions all the time to Geekcast Radio. You've told me we get submissions to review content and to do things.
Quite often, actually.
Sometimes we get them and sometimes we do them, but sometimes we're not so thrilled with the content. Sorry, content creators.
But we try to be as honest and like as nice about it as we can, like even if it's not something that necessarily strikes our fancy.
Yes, and as always, I want to remind the listeners that this podcast, as most of the ones that I do anyway, is explicit. So we won't be beeping any shit, bastard, damn things. Anyway, yeah, we try to be as nice as we possibly can, but I was having a hard time with this. So what we are reviewing is called Contraband. It is a graphic novel. It is written by Thomas J. Behe, B-E-H-E. So, Thomas, I'm sorry if I have butchered your name. The illustrator on here is Phil Elliot. The inker is Ian Sharman. The toner is Sherry Donovan. And the cover was done by Marcus Hole. Or Hall. I assume it's Hole because it's H-O-H-L. And it was published by SLG Publishing out of San Jose, California. And I'm just going to read the back of the trade, because the thing is, Thomas sent us the PDF to this, and then like a month after, or a couple months after, he checked in with me again, and he's like, hey, would you guys like complimentary physical copies? And I'm like, sure. So I sent him my address, your address. We got them. It was not the size I was hoping for, and I was honestly thinking it was going to be a single issue comic. It is a full trade paperback coming in at 146 pages or so. So, Contraband. Toby has filmed the wrong people on his phone. Caught recording an illegal video transaction, a self-styled citizen journalist is forced to hunt down a female activist sabotaging the country's most controversial cell phone channel, Contraband. His search leads him into a voyeur underground where profit-hungry youths prowl city streets, filming violent events to satisfy our society's accelerating demand for sensational content. So Contraband is a more violent version of YouTube?
Basically real life. I mean, there's really no way of going around it.
Yeah. I'm just going to say it up front. It took me forever to read this thing, and I know you have, and you'll mention this when you have your say. I was born legally blind. I have optic atrophy, which is nerve damage to my eyes. No LASIK, no nothing could ever... Yes, I can get glasses, and I can get corrected up to a certain point, but I will never, ever have decent enough vision. And that's just one of my problems. So Thomas sent us this physical copy after he had sent us the PDF. And this book is tiny. Literally, for me to be able to see May 1st, London, in the opening of Chapter 3, the book is literally less than 2 inches away from my nose.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, and it says mature readers, and I get that. Like, I'm of the mentality of it doesn't necessarily need to be mature to be good. And I'm not slighting anything. Like, I like some of the, like, I like the cover.
I love the cover.
I love the cover because it kind of shows, the differences in some of the stuff. But that could have also been explained on the inside too. But I feel like that's the whole gimmick in MacGuffin is what the cover shows. And I know that that's what it's intended to do, because you have this like almost James Bondish multi-use
cell phone
that looks like a Sony Ericsson. Without being called one. And I get it. Like, they're using it as a gun. They're having it as, this miraculous way of using it. I struggled watching it or like reading this because it's very much like what we're living through. And honestly, just watching the news and watching the internet is depressing enough.
Yep.
I don't, and I feel this and this isn't just this comic. This is a lot of material that's out now, whether it be TV, movies, and comics. Yep. A lot of them are going in this direction, and I get it, like, to some degree.
Yeah.
Pop culture mirrors reality. However, in some instances, these things do have a silver lining. They do show the error of the ways and ways to recover from it and kind of rise out of it. I don't see this necessarily as like a sci-fi type thing. I see this as like basically an action thriller. Like it's James Bond text or tech in the form of the cell phone. It's a gun, but otherwise, for all intents and purposes, it's basically an action thriller. And I'm not knocking like the concept per se, but some of my gripes are, as you mentioned, like the tiny text, and like when I'm thinking a trade paperback, I'm thinking much larger. Just the normal, size. Like this almost looks like the 8.5 by 11.
Yep.
Folded in half.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones are the taller paper, and I think part of what hurts this too, there's no color.
I was just getting to that.
It's very hard for me to discern what is going on between panels because of the fact that it's black and white, because the fact that the text is so small. Like I can see my screen just fine, and it's slightly bigger text than this, but it's also lit up. It's backlit.
Yeah.
But there's other colors around it. Like I use the dark theme because then I have the white text. If I have like all white and I'm trying to decipher what's around it, I can't see the details. I can't read it. Like it has to be like some kind of broken up. And I think that that's part of a detractor for me on this. And I see where they're, there's like so much gore and brutality in it, which again, it mirrors what's going on now.
Yep.
I don't necessarily, if I were making the choice to go out and pick a comic, I don't think I would pick this because of the fact that it's kind of depressing to read. Yeah.
I was, again, it's taken me a while because this got released on May 10th of this year, of 2021, and I'm very happy for the creators that they got, something out. And yes, I am appreciative that they decided to ask us to review it for free, but part of my vision issues, and yes, I know technically with the PDF I could zoom in, but I have never been good with PDF readers. I just never have. I've never cared for them because I'm not a PDF file kind of person. So we received this for free. I still, in order to be able to review this properly, went onto Comixology to search for it, and I still paid $3.99. And $3.99 for a trade paperback for 146 page, that's amazing. But the thing of it is, as you've said, this story, it just, I don't know, it just feels like, and I don't know where Thomas is from, I don't know where the other creators are from. I mean, it says on the back of the book that the company is based out of California, but the fact that they based it overseas, and it's like, if you're going to make a modern day action thriller that sort of mirrors real world events, and I know you're going to groan when I say this, at least place it in the, North America. I mean, you don't necessarily have to put an orange troglodyte reference in there, but,
I mean, it's almost as bad as an incompetent old man that can barely speak.
Yes.
So I'm not going there. But I don't know. It's very reminiscent of the leadership that the two that we've had here.
Yeah.
The discord and the strife that have been caused by the idiocy of two different establishments. Like it festered the same type of mentality that's going on in this book.
Yeah.
And I get the storyline of what it's trying to do, and
I like certain ideas in it.
I do.
I just don't like if they would have said this is America's largest, because again, as Americans, we are people who not all of us love violence, not all of us love super sensational content, but we also do live on this whole give it to me now, give it to me now, give it to me now, instantaneous content thing. And the idea of Contraband being like as soon as you upload it, it reaches millions of people kind of thing. And I understand that they're predicating this on the fact that people prefer violent content over somebody screaming at the top of their lungs about a toy company or about a comic company or about a movie or about a whatever, or if we have a podcast,
but
covering
I don't
whatever.
feel like having to have the quote unquote sensational content has to include violence.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, we have fans that are butthurt over every genre of whatever it may be that's getting rebooted, whether it be He-Man, Transformers, Star Trek, whatever. But it's ultimately there's places for discussions to be had on those. Whereas I don't know. I don't like the concept of having yes, I know, like, things like Batman, it's violent. Transformers are violent. Yes, there are elements of it in there, but there's also not.
I mean, this comic series is predicated upon the fact of sensational violence filmed for a video sharing service. That's what it is. And I understand that. Getting back to the whole black and white thing, I cannot read. I don't care if it's the old newspaper comics. I don't care if it's comics that, from 1939, 1938, 1957. I am not a black and white comic kind of person. I'm just not. I need bold colors, great inking, great line drawings. Like, when perfect example is, if people look at me on social media, most of my profile images are the image that TV's Mr. Neal made for me, and the one that you made you used the background for. So it's me in a gray looking shirt with a Nightwing symbol and a purple background behind me. Neal obviously had to draw me from a photo that I gave him. And every once in a while, I will switch that up to the drawn, it's kind of like, I'm not a bad podcaster. I'm just drawn that way, that kind of thing. The old Jessica Rabbit, whatever. But generally, I like final pieces. I like to see the colors over the lines and everything else. And the lines in this were fine. The tone, because apparently you need a toner in a black and white comic because you have to have multiple tones of black and white. The tone was good, and I got it, but at the same time, I still didn't. Over on the Pullback Origins, which people would have heard a couple last month that I did, I ask a question: what does a story have to draw you in? It has to, if I'm going into the comic book store, the actual physical comic book store, and I pick this up and I look at the front and I'm like, oh, okay, it's a cell phone with all of this size design and whatever, and the cover, and I'm not sure if this cell phone cover is the original cover or if it's the first cover or if there are multiple covers, because the cover on Comixology and the cover that's in our PDFs is completely different from what the physical copy is. So if I'm going in here and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, ooh, contraband, cell phones are contraband, that's cool. I go and I read the back, okay, cool. Maybe while I'm at the comic shop, I'll flip through the first 1, 2, or 3 pages. And I might see all this black and white. And I'm like, not really for me. I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of got some of the, horror thriller aspects of, some of the way that they have things set up in here. But they also have some of it set up like, I mean, if it bleeds, it leads, like the news.
Yeah.
Which, it's only because that's all they do.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
And I said.
And there's scenes in this that I don't know, it stirs up bad emotions in me just because the world is in a dump.
Yeah.
Where it's at, and so so much division. I don't know. I don't think it's. I don't think it's really fitting. It's fitting for the time in a sense, but I don't want to relive it in a comic.
Yeah. So Thomas and everyone else, we're sorry that we didn't give it a more glowing review. We're sorry we didn't look at the full-on intricacies that you tried to put into the story, but after about chapter 6, I was kind of done, and I kind of skimmed through the rest of it just to get to chapter 11, 12, almost to the end, to find out what the end was. It's kind of like, how back in the old days, somebody used to say to me, there's somebody I know used to do this. Oh, I read the end of the story first, so that way I know what I'm in for if I want to read the actual whole story kind of thing. And when we first meet the character of Toby, he's this coffee shop, internet cafe employee, and by the end of it, he's the hero, and that's great. I think that's cool. I think that, them defeating and figuring out and all of this and everything else that happens in this is cool and fun and interesting. But take some of these premises, put it about 1,000 years in the future or something. Like, remember that? Well, I'll have to see if I can find it to put it in the audio. I doubt I will, but I might. Remember that old PlayStation commercial? I forget if it was I think it was when PlayStation 2 launched or something. There was an old PlayStation commercial where they were like, "Oh, the PlayStation 9, just beam it into my head," kind of thing. That commercial was more sci-fi than this trade paperback was. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad. I really do, because
I do too.
I don't want to dump on somebody's creation.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
I just didn't personally enjoy it.
No, and I enjoyed the mystery of it at first, and then all of the violence came in, and I'm like, okay, time to fast forward. I don't know. Like I said, if this may be some people's cup of tea, it's not ours. On our GCRN Universal Ratings scale, I would probably give it a 2.5 out of 5 stars.
I would give it probably a 2, just because I have so many things that tend to push me out of it while I'm trying to read it.
Right. So, folks, we are going to take a quick break. You're going to hear some ads and some other stuff, and we're going to come back and close out the show after this. I've had a hard time figuring out what I'm doing in October for the show. So I'm specifically doing this because I want the Beast Wars episodes to be better for us, and I don't want us to just say, oh, well, this is issue 7 and this is everything that happened, and then that's it. That's why I'm doubling up the issues. So we do 7 and 8 and then 9 and 10. So 9 and 10 is basically going to be the Halloween episode for the pull bag this year at the end of next month. Because usually, like, issue 7's already out. Issue 8 comes out this month. It comes out next week, I think. And then issue 9, usually they come out the second to last or the last week of the month. So pushing it to that is, yeah. Okay. 2913 edit. All right, folks, we are back, and seriously, if you would like to check out Contraband, I will put the link to the Comixology page in the show notes. It may have not have been for us, but I'm sure someone out there likes it. I mean, they have, they have the dude from 30 Days of Night, Ben Templesmith, with a quote on the back of this, and then Ain't It Coal News, Broken Frontier, and so people like this. People enjoyed this. It's just not in our wheelhouse, and maybe I should have said no, but Thomas was a little bit insistent at first on asking if we were going to review it, and honestly, that's another reason why it's taken so long, besides the fact that I usually plan out the pull bag a year in advance, most likely.
I mean, you have some variations within, 6 months or so, but I mean, for the most part, you do.
Yeah,
You do catalog like in backlog episodes quite a while.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, I want to read and trade. The trades are already out. There's so many comics that I need to get to. There's so many things I need to read that I haven't read yet, and also, us doing our monthly things and whatever that we're doing if we're reading monthly series like Transformers, Beast Wars, or Radiant Black. It is what it is. I wish Thomas and the team the best of luck. I hope they have received everything they need. They want to receive with this. I hope they get more success with it. I hope whatever they come up with next is something completely different than this.
Yep.
I hope next time they use color, because next time I'll be.
And I get it. Color is expensive.
Yes.
But I mean, I the cover is honestly more enticing to me than what's inside it.
Yep.
And I feel horrible saying that.
I do too. To a certain extent. Again, I'm sorry. And I'm sure this podcast will either not get any listens or we'll get some sort of hate mail or something.
Or nothing at all.
Or nothing at all, like most of my content does.
Right.
Thomas, like I said before in the emails, you are still more than welcome to come on to the Pull Bag and do your comic origins and talk about the book and everything like that. Just because we give a negative review doesn't mean we think the people behind it, like we have a negative view of them, because it's the story you created that we dislike. It's not you as a person that we dislike. We don't even know you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so if you still want to come on and do the origins, that's more than fine. But most likely after listening to this, you're like, yeah, fuck those guys. Geekcast Radio Network. What the hell's wrong with them? Anyway. Where can the people find you online, sir?
Well, they can find me on the Twitters at SCP21.
I'm at TFG1Mike. You can get all the other You can get all of the other information in the outro. Make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time.
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, the GCRN's first comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate and leave a review for the show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Become a fan of us on Facebook, facebook.com/thepullbag. Send us an email, feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at thepullbag and at geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.